Okay, I'm gonna put record on mine. Okay. Okay, I'm recording.
Post recording permission. Oh, you're the one that can record, so.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay.
So I'll ask you first. What's your story? How did you fall down the rabbit hole of needing yourself? So you can either once again or for the first time in your life reach your true physical, emotional, and even spiritual potential.
Oh, that's a lot of question, but I was like, that's a big question. That's a big question, but I basically found Beachbody when I was focused, so super focused, to go to veterinary school pretty much my whole life. I wanted to be a veterinarian since I was 9. There was no other option for me. All I wanted to do is go to veterinary school, and I just pretty much did nothing but focus on going to veterinary school, and I took the long way around, and so it took me longer than normal, and I went to school out of the country in Grenada, and then I graduated finally in 2008 from veterinary school, and then it was sort of, I was so in that mode of like driven, achieve, and then now what? Now you're just plunged into a career that that's what I wanted all my life. That's all I wanted was to be a veterinarian. But then pretty quickly I learned that the shift, I already knew that the shifts were going to be long, but you don't really make that much money as a veterinarian, which is fine. And I wasn't really there for the money, but I was there to just because there's no money in it, because sort of in the profession, veterinarians aren't necessarily valued. Does that make sense? And so they're valued, but people don't have the money to spend on their pets like they do like themselves. And even like a lot of people don't even take care of themselves regardless, and then you can't really expect them to take care of their animals when they can barely take care of themselves. And not that it just gets really draining. And so people come in all the time saying that
she takes care of me.
I know. But people come in all the time and they have no money to, like, their animals are sick because they haven't been taking care of their preventative care at all. And then they come in and they basically say that, how can you charge money for this? You must love, like, you must love animals. You should want to, do everything for free. And how cold and heartless are you that you don't want to do everything for free? And, like, I thought you loved animals. I thought you would love to. If you loved animals, you would treat my pet. And it's so like it's just like that all day long. And so but so you have to see a lot of patients during the day to balance the fact that nobody has any money. And it ended up like we don't really take, as veterinarians, you don't take lunch breaks. Sometimes you do, but most of the time it's like 12 hours, 14 hours, and no lunch breaks, and busy shifts, and then staying afterwards, so an extra 2 to 3 hours after your shift to finish medical records. And during that time, it's really hard to go to the bathroom or eat or or having any kind of meal. And so after 2 years, I gained about 30 pounds, and I was working 60 hours a week, and I had very little social life. I basically just, worked, and I was so exhausted after working like 4 to 5, 14-hour days that on my days off, I barely did anything but just sit on the couch and watch TV. And I didn't prioritize any time for social life or me time, or I could barely get to the gym a couple days a week. I love going to the gym. That's like my favorite thing ever. In undergrad, I did 15 units of kinesiology. I love cardio kickboxing. I love going to the gym. I just didn't have time for it anymore. Like, I physically could barely get to the gym like 2 days a week on my days off. And so my coach in 2010, I think it was 2010, he was doing a program called P90X, and he was kind of posting about it, and it looked interesting. And then he was actually diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And when he started drinking Shakeology, he actually was able to reverse his type 2 diabetes. And I saw several, so that intrigued me. Number one, he's a really good friend of mine. I'd been friends with him for 20 years before this. And then one of my veterinary technicians was also doing P90X, and she was super fit, and I just wanted to be like her. And so I saw both of them getting fit doing P90X, and I thought, well, I could do that. And so that's pretty much how I signed up. But then, because I was doing because I just wasn't like physically ready for P90X when I started that program. Like, I didn't have the discipline to do that program every single day because I was still in the mindset of a workaholic. So I could not prioritize time in my busy schedule to do the workout every day. I did not look at the nutrition plan that first time I started the program at all. Not one time did I look at that P90X nutrition plan. And I was drinking the Shakeology. I still lost weight, even just that little bit of effort. And, I was doing it like maybe half time, like maybe 4 days a week. I was probably doing the workouts, drinking Shakeology, and I lost about 5 pounds just right away. And then I kind of fell off the wagon a little bit, and my coach talked to me about, I asked him if there was something else that was like a little bit more my speed, and he told me about Turbo Jam. And I thought it sounded fun because it was cardio kickboxing, so I ordered it, and that was like what hooked me in. Like, I loved that program. I fell in love with Chalene Johnson. I did the program from start to finish, the nutrition plan, everything exactly the way it was laid out. I did it for 90 days straight, and I lost 30 pounds.
Wow. Mm-hmm. That's very cool.
Yeah. I love Turbo Jam. It was fun.
I haven't tried that one yet. All right. So you want me to do mine, or do you want me to go to the next question?
I think let's just keep going, and then we'll just flip on the other way.
Okay. What's the theme of your story? Passion, ill health or disease, struggles.
So I'm really passionate about nutrition. I've always been passionate about nutrition. I had migraines ever since I was 6, and really severe migraines. And the doctors didn't really have they didn't have migraine medication when I was growing up. So they basically just medicated me with ibuprofen as a child. And I just lived on ibuprofen, like a ton of ibuprofen all the time. I was having several a month, and no one really knew why I was having them. They had no idea. They just kept on prescribing me Motrin. And in my 20s, I remembered that when I was very young, one of the doctors had told my mom to have me keep a food journal. And I remember, I was like, oh yeah, I remember. And I was supposed to put an H on the calendar every time I had a migraine, and then write all the food down that I had to eat that day. So I was like, well, let me do that again and see what happens. So I started like writing everything I was eating on the days that I was having the migraines, and it was like always some sort of like barbecue, meat, or some sort of hamburger, or something. It was some sort of processed meat that I had eaten every single time. And so just as an experiment, I started taking out those meats, and I felt a lot better. So I transitioned into a vegetarian diet. I think that was in 2001. And I haven't had a migraine since 2001. And I had them all my life.
That's very cool. Identification factors. In other words, what challenges, breakthroughs?
Mm-hmm. I think that for me, like the main parts of my story, like I have kind of two. In the very beginning, the reason why I started this in the first place is that I was a workaholic and I couldn't possibly prioritize. I just became not that I wanted to be a workaholic, but I became a workaholic because I thought I was kind of trapped. My student loans are really high. I have like $160,000 in student loans from veterinary school. And I kind of felt trapped, like there was no other option for me but to be in this job that, that I love, that I wanted to do, but I just felt like I was never going to get ahead. Like it was taking everything I could to like work 60 hours a week, and it was taking all the money toward the student loans, and I was like still broke and tired and exhausted, and I don't know. But so I feel like, and I was, I didn't have any time for me, and I was getting resentful, and so I think learning to not be a workaholic and learning how to like put myself as a priority and take care of myself first, because you can't take care of others until you learn to take care of yourself. That one. Uh-oh. What happened? Did I lose you? Did we lose you? Let's see. We'll just wait patiently to see if she comes back. She said her computer. Oh, there she is. Hello.
Sorry. I didn't realize my computer wasn't plugged in. I'm not used to the computer. It's got a 7-hour battery life on it, but obviously it does not. So
That's funny.
I had to disrupt the poor kitty.
Oh.
He's like, what? Little cuddle bunny.
Oh my gosh.
My most expensive one.
Really? Oh.
Vet bills. Poor. He can't eat pepperoni like the rest of the kittens, so it upsets his belly.
I can't eat pepperoni either. It gives me migraines.
Well, it messes with his urinary system anyway. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Were you finished with that one? Do you want to go to the
Well, so I guess, I don't know. I feel like my identification factors as being a workaholic, number one, or a former workaholic. And also maybe just in general, like maybe like migraines somehow. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then more recently, I've been like going through the recovery for codependency and really diving in deep for that. And I'm just finishing my third 12-step in codependency, and actually learning how to not manage, but overcome really my depression and anxiety. Like it's like little small thing. I still get the depression thoughts, but I'm able to, like, within the next morning, I'm better already. And as before, if somebody has depression, they usually are depressed for a long period of time. And I've also overcome pretty severe anxiety too. So I don't know if that's kind of a lot of different things that need to be, like, fine-tuned a little bit.
Right. So the second part of that is kind of leads into the next one. It says, how can you use your problems to connect with potential team members? And then that leads into your passion, which you kind of highlighted. It says if you're ready, but so how can you use those two factors to kind of connect with potential team members?
Just women. I just want to, basically I want to help women that have struggled with codependency, and that's a really, broad topic, but basically what it is people pleasing and worrying what other people are thinking all the time and feeling responsible for other people's feelings. And I feel like that is something that I can help other women with, and learning how to not worry what other people are thinking. And I've been on this journey for confidence, so helping women to be more confident and have self-worth, and yeah.
Okay. The next one is about passion, which we kind of covered. So it says, but what's your why for becoming a Beachbody coach?
Well, so originally my why was for me, to find a way that I could, it was the first thing that I ever did that actually worked. As far as I tried everything before to lose weight. I was a gymaholic. I loved to go to the gym, and I would do the elliptical for an hour and nothing, and it was hardcore, and I wasn't getting any results at all. I was obsessed with cardio, and you can only get so much from doing cardio every day. And I would, the gym, that they didn't ever really tell you what to do. They kind of did one little brief walk through the gym, and then I would just kind of copy what they told me to do every day. So I kind of felt lost there, and I love group fitness. So that's pretty much where I was attracted to Beachbody in the first place, because I love group fitness. And I did a lot of cardio I've done a lot of cardio kickboxing, so that's how I got interested in Turbo Gym in the first place. And I love being outside. I just love I love it. So it just, for me, I decided to be a Beachbody coach because I just didn't have the time to, I just could not figure out a way to have the time to really focus on me working as many hours as I was doing. So I did it more for a selfish reason, kind of, at first, to take care of me and I tried everything to lose weight. I tried Nutrisystem, with the disgusting food that comes to your house, and these disgusting little cardboard boxes, and they were disgusting. It was gross. It was basically a month worth of food with they were basically little top ramens. It was really gross, and it was really expensive, and it did not do anything for me at all. And I tried Nutrisystem. I used to just live on, it's awful, but I used to live on, for dinner and lunch, Lean Cuisine and Weight Watchers frozen meals. Lived on them. I would literally buy 10 to 15 of them a day, and my whole freezer was stocked with those. It's so sad. And I thought I was eating healthy because I was eating those Weight Watcher Lean Cuisine meals. And I was very much addicted to the microwave. I don't even touch my microwave anymore, but before, I used to be addicted to the microwave. Everything had to be cooked in the microwave. I barely even ever used my stove or my oven. Everything was cooked in the microwave. Yeah. So originally I did it for a selfish reason, I suppose. And then the second time, then I actually kind of fell off a little bit when I was pregnant. I just, I don't know. I stopped kind of drinking my shakes. I wasn't really working out. I was kind of like too freaked out to work out because I was afraid like it would hurt the baby. And then I was just doing yoga, and I gained 47 pounds. I gained all the weight back plus 47 pounds with my pregnancy. And then I really was in a hard place because when I had the baby, like then I was already depressed because I had left my husband. And I had severe, all of a sudden now I had severe lower back pain. I could not, in fact, one night I was so my back was so painful that one night I had to get up to nurse the baby, and I could not make it out of the bed. I could not get myself out of the bed. I was 220 pounds after I had the baby, and I couldn't get myself out of the bed. It hurts. Like I had to like roll myself out of the bed in order to get out of the bed. And then I like just kind of, I just knew that I needed to get back into the programs. I knew what to do because I had been doing it for since 2010. I just was really depressed, and then I got a severe tendonitis in my foot from getting so much weight, like so rapidly. Because when you're pregnant, you gain the weight so rapidly.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had just left my husband. I was getting really depressed. And then one day I was watching a documentary. I watched the documentary Fed Up, and it was all about sugar addiction. And something just clicked in my head. I was like, that I'm totally an addict. I am totally a sugar addict. And I'd been going to Silver Recovery for a year already at that point. And I just realized that if I was an alcoholic and I gave up alcohol, like I was an alcoholic and I was in recovery, I would not occasionally have a beer. I would not like let someone offer me a beer once in a while because I was in recovery. And it's the same exact thing. If I'm an addict, I need to not occasionally have some sugar, like, because every single time I fall down the rabbit hole and have like have something that's sweet that I shouldn't be eating, I don't just have a little bit, I have a lot. Every time. So addictive.
All right. So describe the opportunities that being Beachbody Coach has produced in your life. Like anything about how your life has changed.
So
what you're looking forward to.
I think the main thing that I would say, the very main thing that happened was that is the personal development aspect. And I started originally doing, Chalene Johnson has a book called 30-Day Push, and it is all about goal setting and priorities. And every single day you get a new lesson and you do it for 30 days. And that book really changed my life because it taught me about priorities. And it took me a while, but it took me a while to realize that I had to be one of them. Like my priority when I first started doing priorities, my priority was to be the best veterinarian that I could be.
Mm-hmm.
But there was nothing about me there. It was all about everything else that I could do. And so it really taught me how to like figure out what my priorities are, and then how to set goals that were in line with my priorities, and good time management tips. And then kind of segued as I started following more into her personal development. It really helped me to get to it has helped me to address my confidence issues and figure out why, and not just why, but that it was selfish of me. Like, she literally explained to me how it is selfish not to be confident is selfish, especially if you have kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so.
All right, so describe your ideal team member and what their journey might look like to you. How you would fit into helping them accomplish their goals.
Do you think this is kind of like your avatar?
Yeah, what they look like.
I think my ideal team member is like what I've been focusing on, and I'm not exactly sure because sometimes I feel like I think I need to maybe change up my image a little bit. I'm not sure. But
Your image of your avatar, of your.
of myself, or maybe I just need to change my head about myself, because part of me thinks that maybe I'm not attractive enough. I don't know how to say this, but attractive enough to, or maybe I'm just not, maybe not attractive. That's not the word I'm looking for. The word I'm looking for is I'm still not confident enough to command to be the person that my avatar would look up to.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the thing. So to me, I feel like my avatar is a busy veterinarian who's just graduated, who struggles with self-confidence, who's a new mom, who is a Christian, who is overworked and exhausted and things, and like struggles with people pleasing, and struggles with taking care of themselves, and like putting themselves as a priority, and basically does for everybody else except for themselves.
Okay.
So that's not my ideal team member, but I think that's my avatar. My ideal team member is somebody who is ready to like take action and ready to make a change, and loves to learn, and is driven. Like that's one of my strengths, is that I'm very, very driven, and I'm very hardworking, and maybe someone who's also sensitive too, because we can kind of understand each other, that has that not extreme, but I want to say like has the gift of empathy for others, because I really think value that in other people, that can really not sympathy, but actually empathy for other people, and understand what people are going through.
Okay. So how do you feel equipped to help reach their goals?
I think that because I've been going through this so much of digging into my codependency issues, I'm starting to and going through all the confidence work, I feel like I am equipped, even though I feel like I need more. I need to just give myself more credit, because I've done a lot of work, and I've grown a lot in the past 3 years, especially, if not the past 7 years. And I just need to learn how to give myself more credit, and because I have a lot to offer, and I have grown a lot and learned how to prioritize and time management and value myself, and I could get better, but I'm working on it. Yeah.
Okay. So what's the defining factor for why people should work with you over other coaches?
Because I'm a good person. So I don't know. That's what I think.
Well, I mean, that can be. I mean, there's a post in there today that talked about people swearing and stuff, and whether or not, people should do it. But they were saying, it just depends on who you want on your tribe. And
Yeah, that's true. I feel like
so,
I guess so. They should work with me because I love God, and I have a good heart, and I never ever give up on people. I'm very to the point where I can get to the point where I'm like dragging people along with me. But I don't give up. I do not give up on anybody. I think everybody has worth and value, and everybody's important, and I know everybody can do it. And I firmly believe in the scripture that says, I can do all things through Christ Jesus. That strength, Christ, all things through Christ Jesus that strengthens me. I really believe in that one a lot.
mm-hmm. So what were the most difficult things you faced? Some obstacles.
So there's a lot. I feel like there's a lot, but So some of the things in my childhood would be parents that worked all the time and did not give me very much attention. And so I felt like I needed to achieve and be perfect in order to, at least earn some sort of attention from them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was bullied quite a bit as a child. So that really just fed into my insecurity and made me just really withdraw into myself. And the more quiet you are, the less attention that's drawn to you, the less you're going to get picked on. So put your head down on work and try not to be too different from anybody else so that you don't get picked on. Is kind of how I lived most of my life. So I'm really anti-bullying as well. And I'm anti singling kids out. Like, I feel like that is really important to not to single them out or make them feel shame. Like they need to, everybody makes mistakes, and they need to realize that they can make a mistake and they're still accepted by their peers.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that, and then, that, and then basically every relationship that I've been through has been with some sort of addict or alcoholic, mostly alcoholic. And then, basically surviving domestic abuse with my husband. But learning how to finally standing up for myself and leaving him and taking my son to a safe location, but also learning that it's not that he doesn't love us, it's that he has an addiction. So I just pray for him every day, and hopefully that's, just keep my hope. The only thing that we can have is pray. The only thing we can do is pray and have hope. And that's God. God wants us to have hope. He doesn't want us to not, to give up hope.
Mm-hmm. All right. So when was the first moment when someone gave you a compliment or acknowledged your transformation?
First moment. I think the first moment was probably after I had finished the Turbo Gym, because I'm pretty sure, because I did lose all the weight that I had gained, and people were telling me that I looked amazing, and then I just was on fire for it. I just wanted to keep on going. I didn't want to stop at all. I loved it, this is the first thing that worked, and it was just it just made sense. It wasn't any gimmick or anything. It just was I was just on fire for the whole what is it? The whole just fitness, health and fitness. It was amazing.
Okay. So what pisses you off? And you can't use bad drivers because I used that already.
Oh.
I said bad driver.
You know what pisses me off? It's so irritating. Well, two things. Inconsiderate people, I already said that one. But I said it on another interview, so I can say it on this one.
We recorded but didn't get the video of. Yes.
Yeah. So inconsiderate people. And then people that don't follow through with what they say they're going to do. That they start a program and then they don't finish, or then they just to me it's so, I can't even tell you how frustrated it is for when somebody does purchase a challenge pack and has this system in their hand and then they don't do anything with it. That is frustrating to me.
All right. And what keeps you up at night?
Nothing. I'm a good sleeper. I could fall asleep under this table right now.
What accomplishments? Yeah. Just remember, I'm on the East Coast and you're on the West Coast right now. So it's
I'm just always exhausted. I've never, ever had insomnia in my entire life. I think maybe once during Christmas time.
I tell people the same thing. They're like, "How do you sleep at night?" I'm like, I can't even keep my eyes open by the time
I know. I'm like, I'm tired. I'm
let
exhausted.
me sleep.
I don't understand. And then, not to mention, I feel like exercise helps so much. Anyways, if you're exercising, you like
Yeah.
I always tell people that are having problems sleeping. If you're having problems sleeping, try putting exercise into your day.
Get up and
If
take
you
20 jumping
exercise
jacks.
30 minutes a day, you're going to be tired at night.
Yeah. What accomplishments have given you a sigh of major relief?
Well, the biggest one, of course, was accomplishing veterinary school. Like I was so focused, and I prayed constantly during veterinary school that I would not screw up and like get kicked out. I was so afraid that I was like not going to pass, and I don't know. So yeah, that was the biggest one, I think. And now, um, now it would be my ongoing fear of public speaking, and the fact that I can actually speak in public now and giving my testimony in front of my church in January. I gave my testimony from basically like my story that of what like from birth, I guess, to like what brought me to sober recovery. I gave it in front of like I think 80 people at my church.
Wow, that's cool.
Mm.
And then how have you defied your own or other people's expectations?
How do you define your own? Well, no. So the first thing is that when I was growing up and I wanted to be a veterinarian, my dad told me that that's a really hard goal. It's a really hard thing to achieve, and you should probably pick something easier. And nobody really believed. I don't think it didn't seem like anybody believed that I could be a veterinarian. And then, not to mention, I wasn't getting the grades that necessarily at first that I needed to get into veterinary school. So they were basically being proved right that I couldn't do it, and it just kind of fueled me. It fueled my like, no, I can do this. I'll figure out a way. I'm gonna like, even if I have to repeat every class and work, and I had to work the whole way through school. So if it takes me twice as long as everybody else and I have to repeat every class and I have to go, like, I will figure out a way to make this happen. So that's where I guess that's so far, like, and then, I feel like a lot of people don't think that I can do this coaching thing. I don't know if they believe in me or not, or maybe I don't believe in myself. I don't know. But, I want to defy everybody's expectations on that because I can do this and it is possible.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to throw one last one in there. What gets you up in the morning? What makes you say, because I've got something to do? What is that thing that you get up in the morning and say, this is, I got up, this is what God has planned for me? We're both on that same track, so.
I mean, you mean like what do I do that I look forward to in the morning?
Well, in any day when you wake up in the morning, this is something that I've tried recently because I've kind of given up hope on a lot of stuff. And when you wake up in the morning and you don't want to get out of bed,
I feel like I feel like I have to because I have an amazing, cute little boy to wake up to every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. All right, dear. You did good.
Thank you. I felt like maybe I was rambling a little bit.
Well, I mean, it happens, but if we're going to transcribe this and you want something that the way that they said is a conversation, it's you having a conversation and not you like, rewording and
Like Jesse Reagan said on one of the calls, he was like, people don't speak like the way, like when you type a post out like Transformation Tuesday or whatever, like people don't talk like that.
yeah. Oh, mine
Like,
always have like slang in it because that is the way I talk.
yeah, I do think I talk like that too. I talk in bullet points kind of. I literally like I literally like have when I have something that's in my mind and that's like what I believe in, I literally have all the like bullet point reasons why you should believe in it. So if I'm going to prove my point, I'm going to have here's all my evidence of why I believe this.
That's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
I mean, your posts speak the way you do. That's what's important. So
Yeah. I kind of feel like too, you know, sometimes I feel like I know that a lot of people think like, oh, she thinks she's like knows everything and she's always right. I know people think that, but sometimes like it's like a mom thing. Sometimes moms do know what's right.
I don't know.
Like for my like I'm sorry, but like my husband he doesn't make the best choices, obviously.
Yeah, I don't know. All
But
right,
okay, so okay, let's try this again. Okay, so what is your story?
my story. Hmm.
You're gonna
We're
know
gonna
it,
go.
you're gonna know it really well.
Yeah. No, I do. My story, the what happened is that after getting out of what I thought wasn't a great marriage with two kids, I decided that I met a guy and fell in love with him with no intention of ever getting married. And a series of occurrences, we got married, and I spent about 9 or 10 years doing what I told myself I would never do. I wasn't going to be the person that gave in to anybody. I wasn't going to be the person that didn't have control. And I felt like I was doing that. Um, and when I turned 45, I looked at my life and did a 10-year look back and went, this is not where I wanted, where I went at 35, I didn't see myself here at 45. I had totally lost control of everything, including my weight and my diet and my exercise. I had been running 5 miles a day for almost 20 years at the time. Um, so the next few years was me making the decision to end that marriage and figure out how to get out of it until one day I just had to kind of take a leap of faith and say, okay, this is it, we're moving on. Uh, so, one of the first things I did was get back on track with the diet and exercise. But because the marriage was abuse on many levels, there was physical, verbal, financial, a lot of emotional and mental abuse. It took me a whole lot longer to get over a lot of what had gone on for those 10 years. And I have two teenage daughters. And so um, I spent a lot of time feeling really, really guilty. And when you feel guilty, sometimes you just want to eat.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of trouble trying to figure out um, how to get myself back on track. And we moved out. We lived on the fourth floor. So by by no choice of my own, I ended up starting to lose a whole lot of weight. I also didn't have. Now I was a single mom again. I didn't have time to cook or do all that stuff. So I didn't lose weight, but I had been on a journey of trying to be healthy because I'm anemic. Um, and I'm tall, and I think it looks really bad on me when I started to put on weight. I had started running back in college after I put on my freshman 25, done like a mile a day. And then finally somebody said, hey, you should be running 5 miles a day with us. And for 3 years I ran now I call them my accountability partners. But at any rate, I let all that go. So 2 years ago, I left my now ex-husband and decided I was going to take control of my nutrition a little bit better, but was using a lot of supplements. Somebody contacted me about doing something different, body stuff. And that kind of led me on to, I still had felt like I was out of control when it came to my diet and my nutrition, but coming into the Beachbody piece just made me feel like I was doing something better because it made me change the way I was eating. It wasn't just that I had a new diet, I had something new that I could take for a supplement. It made me look at the way that I was eating, and I realized that actually eating enough, if that sounds funny, because I've gone from somebody, God bless him, he was a comfort cooker. I mean, meatloaf and mashed potatoes, and beef stews and, shepherd's pie. And I'm going to make everybody hungry saying this stuff now. Right. So all of that went away and I went back to cooking the lean meals that I was doing before. But because I was so much more busy, I just was losing weight at the time. Now I'm a little bit off track.
Okay, so what is the theme of your story? And how?
The theme of my story is about overcoming. Really about, it's not, to me, it's not about the weight loss. It's not about, hey, I'm fat and now I've lost some weight. It's about taking control of your life. It's about not letting people tell you what to do, when to do it. It's about really taking care of yourself. And like you had mentioned, it's not in a selfish way, because the way I look at it is that God gave us this body to us so that we can accomplish our goals on this earth. And we can't do it if we're not healthy enough to do those. And that's not just physically healthy, that's mentally healthy, that's emotionally healthy, and unfortunately in this world, that's financially healthy as well.
It's like you can't put the oxygen mask on everybody else without putting it on yourself first.
Right. And I wasn't, as a mom, you forget about that stuff. You put everybody else first, and that's what happened. I got myself into this marriage because I could fix somebody who was alcoholic, who had sociopathic tendencies, and I didn't see all that as an issue. I thought that as a challenge. And things never occurred to me that happened during that whole time. And I was fortunate because I had somebody eventually point out to me some certain things that were going on, and a sheet of paper and said, answer these 9 questions. And if you answer more than, if you answer, I forget what it was, 75% of them is with a yes, abusive relationship. And I answered yes to all of them. Just don't think it's abusive because you're not getting hit all the time. You think it's not abusive, but when they're insulting you and putting you down and demeaning you and making you pay for everything and, all of that. And, my kids would not get stuff that his kids would get and all of that. And didn't see it because I didn't want to see it, because I thought I was still fixing stuff. Ironically, my brand is caregiver. I did it twice and I got caregiver both times. I've always been in that role of taking care of people, wanting to take care of people and kind of make them better. Part of my
sounds familiar.
I call it severe awkward middle child syndrome.
Yeah.
So my theme has been, really trying to overcome stuff like that and not
AKA codependency.
Yeah. So
what are your identification factors then that you feel like that you could use? In other words, what challenges or breakthroughs do you want to help your leads and new team members focus on and overcome?
The breakthroughs are coming to terms with the fact, like a lot of us know when we're in a bad situation or a situation that isn't the best for us, but we're afraid to do something about it because we're afraid that we're going to upset somebody else. We're afraid that that we're not going to be able to fix it the way we want to fix it, and we're afraid that admits that we did something wrong. So it's about, coming to terms with the fact that this isn't the path that I want to go down. I want to make changes. So, somebody who's at that point where they know they need to do something, they don't know exactly what it looks like, and just really need somebody to say, let me take you on this journey. Let me help you. Let me show you some things and give you some tools so that you can find your way out of this.
Maybe it's about also like learning how to identify the people that are like looking for help,
Right. And it's tough because especially when it comes to relationships, a lot of people don't want to admit it. I mean, I have people all the time after I told them what my story is, and they were like, "Oh, I went through something similar." Um, much like I think I said earlier with this whole hashtag Me Too thing, where people are talking about sexual harassment, we don't want to talk about it. We don't talk about it. We put up with a whole lot of it. And even if we tell somebody else, we don't do anything about it because we're afraid to do something about it. We're afraid we'll lose a position or lose, the affection that we're getting.
Or just in general, you don't want to tell anyone about it because it like makes you feel ashamed that they like.
Right. Because you feel like you failed on some level because you fix whatever it was or do, make that person better.
Mm-hmm.
So use my main thing is like I said, it's I really want to show people how they can empower themselves to be that overcomer, get through a situation and find the solutions that sounds like an end. Find opportunities where they can work development piece.
So why are you passionate about health and fitness then?
Why am I passionate about health and fitness? It's a multifaceted. The first is that I've always been athletic. I've always been concerned about staying in shape. I played sports all through high school. Sports. I have 5 sisters. This is my middle child syndrome. Um, the fourth of 6 girls, and we weren't playing sports. We were always outside doing something. We were conscious of the fact that we wanted to be working out and not on weight. But when I was in college, I didn't want to play the sports. I went from small town rural Vermont to New York City, and it was a lot more competitive. I didn't want to play sports, but then I didn't have anything to do. And I put on a whole lot of weight, I think I mentioned before, and started running. At the same time, my dad, he'd had a mild heart attack at the age of 37. Having issues in looking for better ways to do things. And he didn't want to take a lot of pills. There wasn't a whole lot in the 90s. And so he was doing the Atkins diet. That was my first attempt at anything other than not eating so much, which is how I started. I went from eating everything in the school cafeteria and not exercising to running 5 miles a day and eating salads like it was actually going to be healthy for me. And because I'm anemic already in a severe anemic situation, I almost ended up in the hospital. So, I realized I had to start eating a little bit better, but I didn't want to eat the way I was eating before. So, I have always been on a journey to find better ways to eat. But then I became on the other side a exercise bulimia. I worked out. If I ate, I worked out all the time. And so I wasn't finding a healthy balance between eating and working out until after my daughter was born. And I had to change my diet because she wouldn't nurse. And so when I eliminated these certain foods from my diet, and I still knew because I had a child, I needed to keep my strength up. So I was still trying to keep my calorie count up, foods out. And I realized that when I took those foods out, not only did I lose the weight, but I felt better. Maybe if I had done that earlier. So that kind of put me on that track of making sure I was watching what I eat. Again, it reminded me that, there are certain foods that my body likes better than others. But again, my dad, right before my daughter was born, my dad had I think he had it twice. And so, really concerned with making sure that I have a healthy diet on that level. I was working out all the time. I knew that exercise was not the answer to having the arteries and keeping your heart healthy all of the time. It had a lot to do with what you're putting in your body. Mm-hmm. The recent part was, of course, that then I met a man and I let all of that go. and I could feel it. I could feel it. I was sluggish. I put on 25 pounds. I could feel my heart racing. I would go out for a run and my heart would race in the morning, and it wasn't healthy at all. And so on the way out of that relationship, I decided that's when I was starting to look at better nutrition at the time and absorbabilities and vitamins and supplements. And I stopped doing over-the-counter vitamins to doing the home direct vitamins. Sick. So I was always looking for something better. But once again, like I said, when I started with Beachbody, it wasn't just about taking a supplement. It was about changing the diet, changing the meals, focusing on what I'm eating, what I'm putting in my body. And my concern was, and I asked my coach and I said, what do I do? I'm anemic and I'm really concerned about my iron level. So I've always had to take an extra iron supplement, but it makes me sick. Take anything. She goes, if you follow the meal plans and you take the shakes, you should be fine. There are some vitamins you can take, but most of us are just focused on the food part of it, making sure we've got the right foods in our diet.
Mm-hmm.
And then not to ramble on, but I work in the financial industry and I do a lot of life insurance applications, and I run into people all the time who you start asking them health questions, and the first one is height and weight. And sometimes the weight is way beyond what the height is. That weight people up if they are 5, 10, 15, 20 pounds over a certain weight. And that can be anywhere from $20 to $40 a month or more in premiums. And the other one is that not only do you have to do height and weight, you have to list all of your medications on an insurance application. And people would be writing and writing and writing, and they'd come up with like 10. And I'm looking at this going, what is wrong with our country? What is wrong with our industry that we are giving people all these to make them better, and all it's doing is money. And then when I would go to try to get them life insurance, they wouldn't be eligible because they have blood pressure and high cholesterol and all of this stuff. And I knew that, because my family's got heart disease, that there was other ways to control this. It didn't have to be that way. So I want to check on that level to really reduce the amount of prescriptions that people are taking, because the goal is to save up money to live a long life. Would you spend that time out traveling and having fun, or do you want to be going to CVS to get your prescriptions filled and spending all of your money on your prescriptions? And
the leading killer of women and men right now is heart disease.
Yeah, right. Yes, I know that. I actually about that. But yeah, it's just really sad that we become so reliant on prescription drugs to fix. And as one prescription drug comes out, another one comes because it has to supplement that, or it doesn't work. So now you have to do this, and they're not testing them properly, and it's starting. And I'm thinking, or we could just eat better. Let's just try to eat better and work out a little bit and get that heart moving, and maybe we can start taking care of that, and then you can put your money into other things that aren't your prescription, hospital stays, and your long-term care and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I rambled.
Yeah. Oh, so okay. So what's your why for becoming a Beachbody coach?
My why. Again, I've got a couple pieces here. When it comes to why I want to Beachbody, the health and nutrition thing is part of it. I really am passionate about educating people on the fact that they can eat better, and you can't possibly get all your vitamins from eating better. So you do have to find another way to get some of those the supplements into your system. But because it's my business side of stuff, and it's about transforming your body, transforming your life. I have 2 girls who went through pure hell with me, with my ex-husband, better life. And they deserve to spend time with their mom. Most of their school life, I have either been a full-time bank manager or a full-time financial advisor. And, when we moved out of the house, it was my goal to, it was my goal to be able to be home when for school and to be home when they came back from school and to be able to make all of their sporting events and make all of their concerts and all of that stuff. So, granted, I work in the financial industry, and that I also switched that at the same time. So instead of having an office, I decided to do independent work from the home so that I could be home for them. And again, my daughter has a stomach issue, which the doctor calls a slow digestion. I think it's a little something more than that because they put on a prescription that didn't work. I think her stomach doesn't digest her food is because it can't process it because it's got too many preservatives on it. That my children, based off of what we grew up with. I mean, I'm a child of the 70s and the 80s, so I can't even tell you the nasty crap in our bodies. But if I thought that was nasty, today is 10 times worse.
Mm-hmm.
You can't even find the nutrition in a grain of wheat anymore because there's so many preservatives and byproducts that they're adding to wheat to make it grow faster and all of that stuff. My kids are suffering, I think, because of that. And I want them to figure out how to eat better, and to grow up thinking that they should be healthy because, even though I thought working out was the answer, it wasn't. It was the actual food that I was eating that was the answer. And it can change your whole mind. Eating healthy makes you feel better, makes you think clearer, and I really want them on that track. So, really making sure that that I'm there for my kids, that they are healthy, and I can be home for them. And then on the other side is that because I went through a domestic situation that I went through, I really want to empower to learn that they can get out of a situation and overcome it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want people to think that they are stuck in any kind of a situation. And my children too. I don't want my children to ever think that if they run into an issue, they can't figure out a way out of it. I want to be the support person for that because that's something, even some people with me to get me out of the situation since I've been out of that, having a support system has been tough. Because a lot of people just, when you start talking domestic abuse and domestic violence, all of a sudden it's like, we don't want to go near her. That girl's got some issues because for some reason people seem to think that the only reason that happened was because I must have done something wrong. Which I'm already beating myself up on that one, so I don't need anybody else to do that.
People just don't want to have you share your drama. They don't want you to share negativity. I feel like the one sad thing I shared about being depressed last night on my social media wall, and I feel like the one thing that there's a lot of good people that came in in support, but in a way I feel like a lot of people are just giving their sympathy.
Well, see, I feel the opposite. I think that people don't want to give their sympathy because they don't want to face it. And like I said, I even had somebody call me out and tell me I was over posting about it, and she felt sorry for my husband. I don't know, the words I wanted to say were just not really nice. But at any rate, I know that there's people out there that I need to reach about this.
Mm-hmm. It's about awareness, but creating.
Yeah, well, it's not. I mean, like I said, the few people that I've reached have turned to me and said, "I'm so glad." Oh, I didn't know, or I went through this, and they really do want to talk about it, or at least know that they're okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yourself up when this happens. I feel like I did something wrong all of the time. What did I do wrong that I couldn't make this marriage work? What did I do wrong that by being everything to this man, it was never good enough would be the words that I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
I had a conversation tonight with somebody about that. She called me up and she's like, I need to talk to you. And she was like, how do you get over this? And I was like, you don't. Learn to be better.
Mm-hmm.
learn how to deal with this stuff. You know, you're always going to find these feelings are going to come in, and then you just figure out how to talk yourself around them.
It's
But you're
about, it really comes back down to learning how to value yourself and
right.
to put yourself first and take care of yourself.
And that's, you know, that's what I want to do. I really want to make women, because I did not grow up that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I really want people to learn that, especially my children, and then anybody who's been through what I've been through.
Yeah. Okay. What describe the opportunities that Beachbody coaching has produced in your life?
All right. So the opportunities, I have a background and a leadership background, and anytime I've done any kind of those quizzes, I did the Strength Finder, oh, and a couple of those other things where it's, you know, what are your strengths? It always comes down to leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Manager, I've coached athletic teams. So my strengths are in leading people and coaching people and helping them to go from a certain level up to another level. And so opportunities with Beachbody give me that chance to find people who are looking to improve themselves or who don't even see the potential in themselves. You know, my first round of bank tellers, there's two of them had kids, so really didn't have any aspiration to do anything. They just wanted a job. They wanted to just show up, go to work, and go home. And they found out that when they worked with me, I was there to support them. You know, we had conversations about, you know, if your child is sick, here's what we do. You know, if you need to leave work because your kid, you know, these are teenagers who didn't have that chance at any other job that they went to. But we're also real about some other things. It was a bank, so they had a lot of responsibility, and I gave them a lot of responsibility, but I taught them how to handle that responsibility really well. And to this day, we're all friends on Facebook, and it's been, 10 years. One of them is a real estate broker. He owns his own brokerage. It was like, you know, playing video games behind the teller line 10 years ago. Um, and I made him head teller. I saw something in him that he didn't see in himself. Another girl who had a baby, um, she was 18, I think, when I hired her, and had a 2-year-old. You know, now she's married, she's got another child, and she has a really great job doing accounting work for another company. Another gal who had a baby, she now works for a mortgage company. So, you know, I feel like the proud mom when I talk about them, because they started off as part-time tellers with no aspirations. And as they worked with me, we talked about what some of their goals were and where they wanted to go. And we're like, you know, well, it's just a job, you know. And I said, well, here's what I can do for you. If you really want something to happen in your life, let me help you get to that next level. And that's what we did. So Beachbody has that opportunity for me to go back and do that leadership piece that I've been missing in a lot of the work that I've been doing since I was banking. And really helping people, whether they want to be part of the team or they just want to be somebody who loses weight. You still need that accountability person. You still need somebody on your, you know, that you can call up and be like, I don't want to do this today.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I started. When I first started working out, I did not want to get up every morning and go for a run. But somebody literally knocked on my door and said, let's go. We're heading out. She did not give me the option to say no. So, you know, that's the opportunity that I have. And it's not, like I said, it's not about losing the weight or anything like that. It's about being empowered and being in control and taking charge and being proud of who you are and who you can become.
Okay, so describe your ideal team member?
My ideal team member. I think I said something different before, but I think I'm going to say it this way. Someone who might not believe in themselves, see that they want something more. He expresses that, oh, yeah, I could do this, but, you know, I've always failed in the past, because sometimes I take that as a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't do so well with something in the past, and I say, well, let's try this way, because this is a different way that we can do that. Somebody who is open, ideally, a little bit open to doing something different. And I'm not going to say anything on the sales level because that I don't think that has anything to do with who I want on my team. Somebody who trusts me, I guess, would be it. Somebody who will look at me and say, you know what, if she can do it, I can do it. Mm-hmm. And that's all it is, you know, or looks at me and says, you know, hey, she's telling me she believes in me, because that's how I've gotten through the past couple of years. You know, the few people that have said to me, I believe in you, I believe you can do this, that's what's made a difference for me.
Okay. How do you feel equipped to help the new team members reach their goals?
Well, since I've been there, I've been through quite a few different scenarios where it's, you know, having to overcome some obstacles, number one. And spent the last 2 years on, I want to say, a severe personal development journey. I don't know how many more books I could read on this, but I'm sure there's a ton more I could read on this. But when I went back to work after my first marriage ended, management, they put us in a that was called a coaching course. It wasn't called how to be a boss or how to be a manager. It was a coaching course. They wanted us to be coaches. So I took a training on that about how to be a person who empowers people and encourages people. And that, you know, between that, the management of the bank, having coached different swim teams, and I still actually coach swim lessons on a regular basis. You know, I spend any time that I'm in the water, I spend the entire class encouraging people. You know, they're young, but it's the same concept. And sometimes I find myself saying things to a 3-year-old and thinking, how can I change that to somebody who's 30 years old or 40 years old and say, you know, hey, you can do this. Thing. I tell a 3-year-old, it's okay, I'm here, I'm going to help you. I'm going to tell a 40-year-old who's going, I can't do this. So I'm going to say, you know, it's okay, I'm here, I'm going to help you. Just, it's always been in my nature to be that kind of a person. And because of the that I've had, I think that puts me in a good position to really be and walking people through these, because I can say, you know, I've been there, I did it, I hear you. Mm-hmm. And I can help you with that.
What is a defining factor for why people should work with you over other Beachbody coaches?
Why people should work with me? Because I don't judge. I can't stand. I cannot stand being judged. It drives me crazy sometimes when I see people who post stuff on Facebook and it is all totally judgmental or ignorant or whatnot. And I don't judge, but you know, I know it's not clear because I can tell by the way people respond to my posts that they look at me like, oh, she's going to judge me. You get to know me. You get to know me as a person. You know that I don't pass judgment on anybody. I believe that everybody has a story, and if I want people to hear my story, I have to listen to their story. I have to listen to it with an open mind, because isn't what happened yesterday or the day before that. The story is what happened 20 years ago, what happened 3 years ago. You know, my story, as much as I've told you, I didn't go into the fact that, you know, being the fourth of 6 girls, and I am 5'9", and all of my sisters, I have 5 sisters, they're all 5'3". Being the adopted one, called the adopted one. I have no idea if I was, but anyway, you know, there's a lot more to my story that I didn't go into that has to do with some of my confidence issues. But of other people, you know, I don't judge. I don't judge people. I might think up front that I've got an opinion of somebody until I start delving into it. And I like to ask a lot of questions to figure out where their mindset is and where they came from to get to where they are. Because I know that people look at me and they're like, oh, you're all confident and all this stuff. And it's like, you would know that that's not how it is. I just overcame a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is.
What do you, I'm going to put in an extra little question. What do
Mhm.
you think you would do if a client of yours, you asked them what they'd had for breakfast, and they said that and they were struggling to be able they don't think they can afford Shakeology. And for breakfast, they had eggs and sausage. And eggs, sausage, and hold on. That's it.
Eggs and sausage.
Yeah.
I eat eggs and sausage for breakfast too.
My first thing is like, where's the vegetable? No, just kidding.
Yeah. Um, I would, if you're talking about somebody who hasn't signed on yet or has,
But they're looking at for you for like some mentoring, but they haven't like taken the whole plunge yet.
um, I guess I would say, let's start looking at what you're eating and when you're eating and how much you're
But what
eating.
if that person like physically thinks that that is a healthy meal?
Um, gosh, you depending on where they are, and I don't know if I would say that that wasn't specifically a healthy meal. I would say it's not the best thing to have, and maybe we need to look at what other options might be available to make you feel a little bit better in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Or say, if that's what you're having for breakfast, what are we having for lunch? How are we in all the nutrition into your day if all the protein's going into the morning and it's not necessarily a healthy protein, but how are we handling the meals for the rest of the day?
I think the way I look at that is how many like okay, so fine, but how many where are you gonna fit in veggies in today?
Right.
That's
Right. Like what does the rest of the day look like?
like it.
Because it's tough. I some days I look at the meal plan stuff and I literally don't have time some days to do stuff like that. And a lot of people are on that same thing where it's like, I really want to do something, but without proper meal planning, you end up making whatever you feel when you open up the fridge. And so maybe it's, hey, maybe
I think this goes along with the question. The next question is how do you feel equipped to help new members reach their goals?
um yeah, in terms of the reaching their goals, of course everybody's going to be a little bit different with that.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding, the importance of why we're teaching people to eat better.
Mm-hmm.
We've got we've got the tools, and Beachbody gives us all the tools to do stuff like that. Have all the tools available to show people how to do all of this stuff. It just comes down to how we're approaching them about it. Trying not to make them feel bad that this isn't the best diet that they could be on, and saying, hey, that you've got protein in your diet. Let's see if we can spread that out over the day and add different things that will maybe give you more energy.
Yeah, it's really nice that we have the clean week challenge. I think that's nice, like a 7 day like little sample of of eating for 7 days and see how they feel at the end of 7 days.
Right, right.
Um, so what is the defining factor for why people should work with you? Did we do this one already?
No, but I probably answered it earlier. The
Okay.
defining factor is in terms of if I'm attacking that, who's my avatar or my tribe, it's um, just because I might look healthy to somebody now or I might look thin now doesn't mean I didn't have struggles.
Mm-hmm.
And so the defining factor would be that I have had a lot of obstacles to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
The so I people I kid you not when people always say you're lucky, and I put this on my page. You're lucky you're so thin. I don't have a thin family. They don't. I mean, I have one sister that's thin, and I have four that are a little bit chunky. The other sister that's thin works out as much as I do. that's the difference. So people are like, oh, you're lucky you're thin. No, no, no. I bust my butt to be thin.
Man, that's like
No,
Charlene Johnson's story. Have you heard her story?
I don't know that I've heard that story.
She was talking. She told the story about how her parents, like in Michigan, and everybody in the family, like always were on a diet, and
Right.
like learned that when you're on a diet, diets don't work because everybody she knew that was on a diet was overweight. And
Yeah.
so she didn't want anything to do with being having a diet, and so that's why she like dove into health to fitness
Yeah.
so hardcore.
Well, it's just funny you said that because I have my sister that's a year older than me. Once again, five sisters that are 5'3" tall, and I'm five. So it looks different on me to them. She was always a little bit chubbier, and she would always. I remember we were in high school, and she did the eggs. I don't know if you probably are too young to remember this, but if he hears this, they'll know what I'm talking about. The eggs and grapefruit diet. Eat an egg and half a grapefruit.
I think
Grapefruit back then, and then grapefruit had
I think one of my coaches did that diet, but
it
Barbie
helps you.
Colette.
Grapefruit apparently helps you burn calories on some level. I can't stand
Is
grapefruit, so I
that
could.
the one that's called the Scarsdale diet?
I don't know. This was back in the 80s, so I'm dating myself when it comes to this. This one. It's been like 84, 85 when she did this diet. And she lost a lot of weight, but once again, it wasn't necessarily a healthy diet because she wasn't taking any of the supplements at the time. And I think
That's the
that,
point. Is
even back then, I
anyone
used
can
those
lose weight, but like anyone can lose weight, but not everybody can maintain that weight loss with a healthy diet. You lose weight and
right.
gain your way
But
back.
you're losing weight by lacking calories, which you're messing with your metabolism. You're not being,
Mhm.
and then you're
It's
putting
not,
stress on
and it's
other parts of your
it's
body.
not producing long lasting change.
Right. And it's not teaching you how to eat better either. That's what I like about Beachbody is that we meal planning. We teach recipes and meals because we want this to be a lifestyle change. We don't want this to necessarily be, granted, we've got some of those quick fix things. So if you had a bad weekend or something like that, that's totally different. But
Hmm.
I think, hey, I'm going to go in on a diet and lose 10 pounds. If you don't plan to keep those 10 pounds off, you're going to put them back on again.
Hmm.
So, everybody slides every once in a while, but what that 10 pounds off and on is doing is screwing with your metabolism, and then you can't keep up with the calories that you're putting in your body when you go back to eating the regular way. And that's why people are putting on weight. But
So, what obstacles did you overcome? What obstacle did you overcome?
what obstacle? Is there one? Do I have to do one?
Like, what? No, this is what obstacles. Sorry.
Yeah. Um, well, of course, the obstacles that I've had are believing in myself. Somebody asked me once what I thought was the thing that helps people be successful in their business, and was it passion, confidence, or something else? And everybody else was like, "Oh, it's passion. You have to be passionate about what you do." And my answer was, "No, you have to believe in what you do.
Hmm.
Passionate about it, but if you don't believe in yourself and believe in what you're doing, you're not going anywhere with it." And it's been really
Hmm.
obstacle for me has been believing that. And so that's probably been, and that's just not, it's has to do with, I got out of this bad marriage. And, my confidence level went from here to like down below the floor. You know, I just didn't believe in myself because I felt like I had failed at this marriage, and I had failed my kids, and I had failed a lot of other people. My mom actually said the words to me, "I told you so." Like, and so I didn't believe in myself for a long time, and I'm honestly just on the cusp of getting back. The last time I think I felt this confident was when I went back into banking, which was probably 2005, 12 years ago. 12 years ago that I felt confident about something that I was doing.
Mm.
And it was probably when I played sports in high school. So, I've been going up and down and up and down, but finding the 5 people in my life that I should hang around with was a big
I was, I
for
was
me.
I was just thinking right now, like maybe that's why people like. There's some people that do like think that like I think I know it all, but it's not that I know it all. I have belief in what I'm doing.
Right, right.
Like
And
I just
that's
yeah, I'm just
different.
following my heart, and I believe in what I'm doing.
Right. And you believe that you're the person that can do it too. I mean, it's not that you believe that in what you're doing, you believe that you can do this for people, um, and it's tough because I don't handle rejection well at all.
Mhm.
The minute somebody says something bad, I'm like from here back down again. Like, dang, why did you do that? I thought I was really doing well. And you have to get over that rejection piece because it's happened. It's been one person out of 6, literally. And I still, it's like Joel Osteen says, don't let that person steal your joy. And I let that person steal my joy. And then suddenly I'm back down at the bottom and I got to
You know
back up.
who's so fabulous to listen to about this is Isabel Deichler. I listened to
Yeah.
it. Oh, she's so good. Oh my gosh, she just gets to the heart of everything. Like she is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
She's so smart. I love her.
Yeah.
I
I've
can't.
only
I
heard her
actually.
interviews.
I don't actually picture them as a couple. It's really hard for me to imagine Isabel Deichler and Carl as a couple. Like I don't understand. Like he's this goofball and she's like brilliant.
Yeah,
Not that he's not
very
brilliant. He's obviously brilliant too. But
right, right. Yeah.
okay, so what were the most difficult things that you faced?
Um, Probably where I am right now has been the most difficult because even though I thought it was tough being married to that man. It's tough um, to be on my own. And this is why, reasons why it was so hard to leave him was that I didn't want to have to do this on my own again. But I walked away from the company that I had built. I walked away from my house, which I still own but can't live in. Um, walked away from a job at the time that I was doing in addition to running his business. And I took a leap of faith. Really difficult. I was hoping it would be a whole lot simpler than it has been, but it's been really, really difficult um, to find myself through all of this. And I will say that kudos to my Beachbody coach because she checked on a regular basis and she would just send stuff like praying for you, and it would make me cry and I would burst out into tears and be like, oh my God, there's somebody out there that cares about me. But at the time, anybody. So, this whole piece of my life has been really, really difficult, but I know that the flip side of it, that the piece that comes on the other side when I write my book, phenomenal. So,
When is the first moment that someone gave you a compliment or acknowledged your transformation?
compliments. I think I said, again, my coach was the first one to kind of recognize that I was doing anything. I think she's one of the first people to say, "Hey, I've noticed that you're doing, you're persevering is more what it was." And So she's probably one of the first people that kind of acknowledged that I had something in me to do this and that I was a strong person because she went through something similar. So she knew what I was going through. She didn't have that whole this doesn't happen, you're just a whiner attitude that I was getting from a lot of other people. Um, she had been there. And so when I have problems, I call her first, even though she's got a lot on her plate. She's the first person I'll send her a message and be like, I can't do this. Okay, just take a deep breath and breathe. And I think she's one of the first ones.
Hmm. So what pisses you off?
All right, I won't say bad drivers again. Ignorant. And I'm as guilty as some people sometimes when it comes to ignorance because I'll say stuff and then I'll be like, you know what, that was not a well thought out question or response or something like that. Or denial. A lot of people are living in ignorant denial where, they don't know enough about something and so they choose not to. And not only do they choose not to, they choose to insult people who are doing what they don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the word that gets me is jealousy.
Mm-hmm.
And not like I don't like jealous people. I hate the fact that that exists a lot. I grew up in a family that we were always, I mean, it wasn't taught, but we learned to be jealous of each other. My sisters, and there's 7 years between the oldest and the youngest. There's always some kind of competition. And while competition is healthy, it ended up resulting in a lot of jealousy. And when we're not facing our problems and we're ignorant to what's going on, the result is that we end up being jealous and then we do all that negative stuff. And so I see a lot of that in people, and it upsets me when I do it, and it upsets me when other people do it. On Facebook, and all I can think of is that's just a jealous post, and I wish I could do something about it. So.
Mm-hmm. I know. I feel like actually sometimes,
What keeps me.
I don't think sometimes I don't recognize that it's jealous. Like I think sometimes I forget that the reason why some people can be mean is because they're jealous.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do it too, and this is where you realize that everybody has a story. I mean, I'll be out, looking at my wallet, going, "Okay, I've got a budget of $10 today," and watch the gal in front of me, $150, and it looks like I don't know, I'll be looking at her clothes and going, "How the heck did she get to spend $150 and I got $10 in my wallet?" And then I have to remind myself that I know her story. Maybe this is the first time she's been out in 2 months to shop because she got money. I don't know that story. Maybe she doesn't have the money and she's totally using credit to buy this, but she's got, like me, when your kids are crying, you'll do anything to feed them.
Mm-hmm, totally. And also like when you instead of getting mad at bad drivers, like to try to think like what if that person's going to the hospital to like because their wife is having a baby.
Right. Or they got a call from the daycare. Like I've had, or, you get a call and they're like, your child's crying and it is. Yes. You just don't know what other people are doing,
Yeah.
you know.
So what keeps you up at night?
What keeps me up at night, Again, you're like you. I'm so exhausted. I don't always stay up. Recently, it's just been, I'm trying not to. Anxiety is kind of a new concept to me. I've probably had it for years and years and years and just never recognized it. But some nights when I just feel very anxious about stuff,
Mm.
and just can't shut my brain off. So it was, and this is just recent, and it's only been like 2 weeks where I've laid down and I'm not falling asleep. I'm teaching myself how to just say, okay, you know what, God, I can't do anything about this. I can't worry about it. I just have to give it to you and go to. Doesn't mean I necessarily do, but I, just pray that if I'm not falling asleep, then I just didn't need to sleep anyway.
I like what Joyce Myers always says. She says there's only two things that we have to do: trust God and do good things.
Right, right. So
That's our whole job.
yeah.
What accomplishment have you given has given you a major sigh of relief?
Um, I think my kids
Hmm.
went through a whole lot. Uh, when I met this guy and got married, they were 4 and 6 and very impressionable. But I always made them focus on their grades and on being good people. And even when they would say, well, he's doing this and he's being mean and his kids are doing this, I would just tell them that they needed to focus on themselves and being good people, on getting good grades in school. And I instilled in them that that was what was important. My oldest daughter is a senior in high school, and grade point average is 4.2. And she's applying for colleges right now and has a 1440 SAT score. I mean, like, I'm just at the point now where I'm like, thank you, Jesus, because that could have turned out so much different. Sister, who's a sophomore in high school, is co-captain of the volleyball team, um, and straight A student as well. And again, this just, it could have turned out so much differently. They could have totally rejected me and they could have totally gone off and, gone in a different route. And I am so lucky and blessed that they didn't. And so every day I thank God that despite all of the stuff that we went through, my kids are good. They're on a good path and they believe in themselves a lot more than I ever believed in myself. They have goals. I don't think I had goals in high school. That's some major, major goals, and I won't let anybody get in the way of those goals. So.
And how do you define your own, oh my gosh, how have you defied your own or other people's expectations?
It's still on that journey a little bit, but, my family is not supportive of what I do. None of them has bought into this. Every time I post about healthy stuff, my dad will post stuff like, I just like bacon. Thank you, Dad. So, the fact that I've persevered with this and I haven't let people deter me from this is how I've done that. And then I make it a point to make sure that everything I put out there on Facebook, for the most part, is positive, and I'm not the white complaining person like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I went out to the store and this happened. That I think a lot of people would think that by now I should be dead. Just have persevered through a whole lot of stuff, and I just, recently, I even, like, not 6 months ago, my dad was like, why don't you just go get a full-time job back in the banking industry? This is what I want to do, Dad, because this is where my dreams are. This is where my goals are. So I've really been much better about not letting people talk me out of this, or myself. So.
Okay.
Are we good?
What was the last question you asked me again? I forgot.
Oh gosh, what did I ask you? I asked you. It was what gets you up in the morning.
Oh yeah, so there you go.
So what gets me up in the morning? Number one, I've got kids who have to be at school by 7, and I want to get my workout in before because if I don't, then it's like 9 o'clock and I still won't have showered.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that I have a goal to help people, to empower women, and that if I don't get up and start doing something with my day, I'm not going to achieve that goal. And then I'm going to miss out on an opportunity for somebody who really needed my help. And that gets me out of bed more than anything. To be up for my kids and to figure out how I'm going to reach the person that I'm really trying to reach. That they're out there somewhere and that they're just waiting for me to. So.
I still have another question. One last one. Lewis, I always listen to Lewis Howes' The School of Greatness. It's a really good podcast. And at the end of his interviews, he always asks his interviewees, "What's your definition of greatness?"
Definition of greatness is I'm a big believer in community and being part of a community. So I would put it somewhere in the lines of today. How many lives did you try to change today? Do to make somebody else's day better, even when you were having a bad day. I would put it in those words.
Yeah, that's a good one. Alrighty. So, should we stop recording?
Are we done?
Okay. This time, stop recording.